For the second straight week, the ARCA Menards Series is outside of the gateway to the west with the Zinsser Smart Coat 200, round 8 of the Sioux Chief Showdown. And back on a short track here at Lebanon I-44 Speedway, a 3/8 of a mile bull ring. A hot day today, leading into a little bit cooler temperatures this evening. Hello, everybody. I am Bob Dillner, and we're excited to be here with MAV TV on a brand new track for the ARCA Menards Series. But that's puzzling a lot of the competitors. Alongside of me in the booth is Jim Trado. And Jim, what to expect is a question on everybody's mind tonight if you're a driver.
Bob, this race was added later in the season. It was not on the initial schedule for 2020. A lot of teams went scrambling, looking for some footage. Matter of fact, the 3 drivers that have had raced here, 2 of them forgot what they actually did here in their short track development days. So the question marks continue. Even for drivers like Michael Self, who won here in a race, thought to himself, I need to look back on tape. I need to look at my notes so if I remember anything about this racetrack. It's such a cool little joint, though. I expect a lot of close racing and a venue that a lot of drivers still have question marks on. What is going to happen during the race is the biggest question for all of them.
And we had a full race day here as well. Practice, qualifying, and the 200-lap race here tonight at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. And we have a pair of rookies that are in a tight battle in the Bounty Rookie Challenge. Drew Dollar and Haley Deegan. They are locked into our Bounty Rookie Spotlight.
Only 3 points separate them after this many races in the season. They've had some close calls. I expect tonight on this little racetrack, they'll probably race together quite a bit together again, Bob.
Drew Dollar has won already this year. Haley Deegan has not. But Haley Deegan is part of a famous racing family. Here's the third member of our team, Dave Reef.
And guys, just like her famous father, Brian Deegan, Haley Deegan does not shy away from the spotlight. In fact, the spotlight a lot of times brings out the best in you. The first female winner out west, still looking for that win, but you feeling confident tonight with this Monster 4 car?
Yeah, I think being at a short track is definitely where I feel more so comfortable. Bigger tracks, mile and a half, super speedway stuff, I'm still learning all of that. And I think tonight, my team definitely gave me a good piece to work with, and we were fine-tuning on it during practice. So I think we'll have a good setup for a race, a good long-run setup.
Quickest in practice, third in qualifying. How hard have you been pressing this year? Do you feel pressure to get that win?
I mean, I'm used to having pressure on me. It's kind of just what comes with my dad and growing up in the racing world, being a girl in the racing world. I'm used to it by now, and I think it's just all that matters is performing when the pressure's on.
And what's it going to take tonight? Can be a little hot, racetrack nobody. That could be the great equalizer, though.
I mean, I think it's good changes during the breaks, constantly making the car better, not letting the field or someone get too far in front of us, just being there in a distance, have a good battle.
A first-timer just like everybody else here at I-44 Speedway. I guarantee when she walked in, though, and saw this place, there was a smile behind that mask. She likes racing here.
It'll be an exciting race for sure. We look at the tail of the tape between these two, the tops in the Bounty Rookie Challenge. Right now, Haley Deegan with an edge because of some of her short track prowess.
Drew's been better on the big tracks. Look at that bottom line there, Bob. The average finish is nearly identical. 1 or 2 positions through at the end of this season. That's going to determine who this Bounty Rookie Challenge winner is going to be. It's going to be very, very close to the end, I think.
And let's talk about this racetrack here in Lebanon, Missouri. We're very excited to be here. The old K&N West Series competed here years ago. It's located in the southern central part of the state of Missouri. A 3/8 of a mile paperclip oval, but I think the big thing, Jim, that is on everybody's mind is this progressive banking in the corners.
Holding the speed in the corner, we saw a lot of drivers middle of the racetrack, up on top of the racetrack. That means there's something down low as well. I see that Haley might have an advantage here because Irwindale Speedway, Tucson Raceway, they have that parabolic banking that we find here tonight for the first time at Lebanon.
This one will provide 2-wide action throughout this 200-lap race here tonight. This place, though, I think is very important because this first run before you get to the first race break will be crucial in dialing in your race car.
15-second laps. You don't have a lot of time today to get your car right. So getting that car dialed in early, I think you need to keep pace with the really fast cars that will lead us to the green flag.
I'm ready to get this one fired here today in Missouri with the ARCA Menards Series. Now it's time for the most famous words in racing in the Zinsser Smart Coat 200.
Hi, I'm Ed Voorhees, President and CEO of the Rust-Oleum Corporation. Welcome to the Lebanon I-44 Speedway and the ARCA Menards Series Zinsser Smart Coat 200. In these unprecedented times and as part of the efforts to bring normalcy back to all Americans, we're proud to sponsor tonight's race and bring it to you on MAV TV and NBC Sports Gold Track Pass. On behalf of the series title and sponsor, our friends at Menards, and all of us at Rust-Oleum, we invite you to sit back and enjoy the Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Drivers, start your engines.
Michael Self, the point leader coming into this round for the ARCA Menards Series, hoping for another victory here. He won in the K&N West Series, which is now the ARCA West Series, here a few years ago. Stellar lineup of some of the brightest stars in America. We'll be doing battle tonight in Missouri in the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. Speedway for the ARCA Menards Series held earlier today, and for the first time in his career, Brett Holmes, second in points, scored the General Tire Pole Award.
What way to put pressure on the point leader, saying, I'm going to take that 1 point they award for the General Tire Pole. Brett Holmes now just 6 points out of the championship lead after the pole run today.
Closing in on Michael Self is Brett Holmes. Here's a good look at this 3/8 of a mile oval, and here's the Zinsser Smart Coat starting grid. Brett Holmes on the General Tire pole with Chandler Smith, 2 times the winner in the Sioux Chief Showdown this year.
Hailie Deegan has qualified her best starting position yet in the ARCA Menards Series, inside row 2. Ty Gibbs, what can you say about that young man? He catches on fast everywhere he goes. He'll start fourth in that Monster Energy number 18.
The ironic part about row number 3, Jim, is that both of these drivers have won twice this year, and both at the same respective racetrack. Sam Mayer at Toledo and Michael Self at Daytona, both on the oval and the road course.
Starting behind each other in the second and third row, and Taylor Gray. He's a young man who's finished really strong in the short tracks. He busted out of the box here with a top 5 run in the ARCA Menards Series in his 7th start. He'll start 7th in the number 17 Ford.
Chris Wright, the road course racer, back in 9th. Mike Basham, the veteran, in 10th. There is Brett Holmes. He elects the outside groove for the initial start of this race. He will carry our Sioux Chief onboard camera from that front row here today. His points challenger for the ARCA Menards Series, Michael Self in the Sinclair 25, will carry the General Tire onboard camera. We expect good views from both of these machines here today.
Riding along with the point leaders, chasing down the Sioux Chief Showdown points. And for the overall point lead, it's only 6 markers, 6 positions on the track between the 2 drivers we get to ride along with tonight.
It's Chandler Smith and Brett Holmes on the front row for this one. A show me state tussle for the ARCA Menards Series.
Three wide already, Bob. Holy cow.
Oh, hold on. What a great shot coming down the front stretch off of turn number 4. You mentioned 3 wide for about 3rd on back here on a couple of different occasions in the first 2 laps of this race. That is something that this progressive banking will give us this entire race.
And this is the lowest these cars have run on the racetrack. Believe me, I watched practice intently. Not a lot of low running bottom feeders, and we find that lane working well for Michael Self, hanging on to the 4th position. Chandler Smith is back, losing another spot on the outside. I thought the outside was a lane to run early on.
A big gap from 1st to 2nd place running Ty Gibbs. There is Sam Mayer in the 21, and then the green and white machine for the point leader Michael Self. But Chandler Smith in the 20 is leading the Sioux Chief Showdown point standings coming into this round number 8 this year.
You know, we talked a lot about this short track, meaning a lot of the times on the West Series, they race short tracks like this one. We get to race one too. Unfortunately, due to the COVID, we couldn't race at Elko Speedway, a very small track, but that's once-a-year opportunity. For drivers like Michael Self in his development years through 2013, he got to race at a lot of short tracks like this one, but it's been since 2013 that he's done it on a regular basis. So to see him run as well as he has and adapt here to the bottom groove, and these teams didn't have a lot to work with. No simulation time. Saw some videos of what they could find online. He is now settling in here quickly. He knows what's at hand here.
And we love Elko Speedway. It has produced some great racing action over the course of the last several years that we've been with at MAV TV, the ARCA Menards Series. On board with that General Tire camera again of Michael Self. He complained of a very tight race car in practice earlier today, Jim.
He said it was either a bit tight or a bit loose, and it was tough to get just right, so they worked on both sides of it. So they make a run, felt a little tight, so they made an adjustment. Hey, that felt a little loose. So they're really finding a fine balance in practice, and that was at 4 o'clock this afternoon Central Time. Now here we are 4.5 hours later, and they've got to figure out how this track is with two wide racing into the lights in a very cooling condition here. It's cooling off quickly.
Both you and me talked to Michael Self on separate occasions about his win in the ARCA Menards West Series. Back then it was known as the K&N West Series. And that came several years ago, let's just say. And when I asked Michael, he said, dude, that was like 7 years ago. I don't remember anything. But we do know it was a very spectacular finish.
So it came down to where Cameron Haley and Greg Persley, two drivers that dominated the race here at Lebanon, and the only trip for the West Series, came down to a final restart. And Michael Self was sitting third, and he made the issue pertinent to get the lead. All three leaders tangled in turn 3 with a handful of laps to go. Haley and Persley spun off the racetrack, up the racetrack, and Michael stayed true and stayed fast and got the lead and ended up leading the final 6 laps.
Let's tell you a little bit about what this race is all about with the Geico Race 411. 200 total laps, that's 75 miles. And the key thing again this year in 2020 for the ARCA Menards Series, those race breaks around laps 75 and 150.
Yeah, that'll actually let the teams come down to pit road. But what we've seen now, we've seen a lot of racing on MAV TV this year on the ARCA Menards Series. You only get 6 tires on a short track. So it's a matter of when you want to put those 4 tires on, when you want to put 2 tires on. So you got 6 fresh general tires in the pit. Those tires are complementing what the 4 tires they started the race on from that general tire qualifying run. So they start the race on the tires they qualify. Those are brand new. We didn't see any scuffs going on. And these teams are really running on fresh rubber. Keep in mind, though, we have a break at lap 75, a break at lap 150. That means a 50-lap run to the finish. So these teams are really doing research now on what these lap 16 to lap 45-ish feels on these cars to replicate what they want in the car or change what they have in the car in the final segment of this race.
Brett Holmes setting a blistering pace early on in this one. Now 16 laps complete. He leads by more than 3 seconds, Dave Reef.
Drivers in their developmental days racing here. That would be back in the late model days, and Brett Holmes is certainly one of those guys. But he says this is an extremely different situation. These cars weigh 600 to 700 pounds more than the late models they raced on back in the day. And they also raced on a different set of tires. So he said the very first time he took the big lumbering ARCA Menards Series car into turn number 1, it was very unnerving. But with a lot of practice done by all of these guys today, he and a lot of other drivers said this race is going to come down to a rhythm race, finding that nice rhythm, that nice consistent beat, and that is exactly what that 23 team is doing right now. They are marching in step.
Yeah, Brett Holmes has the rhythm for sure right now as he leads the opening 19 laps of this race, going on 20 this time by the start-finish line. Holmes, as Dave mentioned, one race prior here, it was a pro late model event, and he said, man, he didn't even sniff the lead. So these are the first laps that he has led in his second appearance at this racetrack. But Jim, this racetrack sort of an unknown to everybody, even a guy like Brett Holmes who has been here one time before. So what do you think the keys are to this race?
This racetrack itself is unique. Not a lot of knowns, but also you have to worry about protecting the inside because you know what? With as much as we run on the outside here, it looks like the lane is middle up. Later in the race, if someone wants to challenge you, they're going to have to go down low. So you might have to figure out how to drive your car down low, whether you're under pressure from a position or not. I think that's going to be key. Also, getting on the throttle off the corner, not getting wheel spin, not getting sideways, but getting on the throttle in the corner where it's comfortable so you don't break that rear tire loose and cause extra wear on the right rear. And also that question mark, you've got 6 tires in the pits. When do you take 4 tires? Do you want to wait till 50 to go? The tire grip level here is unknown, even under the lights now. Even still, these teams don't know what their tire wear is until that first race break when they get a chance to scrape across that tread and see what indeed these tire temps are and what tire wear there is been on this racetrack. So that can be determined, hey, I want to take 4 now. They have that longer break, which could help them decide when to take those 4.
Shane Huffman on top of the box for the 23 of Brett Holmes as he continues to lead now. 25 laps completed out of 200 in this one. Brett Holmes, it has been an unbelievable year for this young kid out of Alabama. Of course, the big win at Kansas, the first in his career. can he get win number 2 tonight here in the state of Missouri? Brett Holmes looking good early tonight.
The ARCA Menards Series is brought to you by General Tire. Anywhere is possible. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
Oh no, trouble for Chandler Smith. He was just running 5th in the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 for the ARCA Menards Series at Lebanon I-44 Speedway, and a shower of sparks. That left front is down on the JBL.com 20.
He was pressured quite heavily by Hailie Deegan lap after lap. She's underneath them here, going to turn number 1. She's in that black number 4. Oh, they touch. She got into it twice as Chandler tried coming down the track. Looks like Hailie was going up the track, and they make contact here. That's huge. Let's look at it again.
The Auto Park It replay, you see that contact, and then going down into the corner. Hailie looked like she went straight into the corner a little bit, and Chandler Smith was coming down at the same time. Both of those drivers made contact going down the front stretch, so interesting move for sure by both of them, making that hard contact going into turn number 1.
Chandler did not have many choices here at the start of this race. He started out on the front row and dropped back to 5th and was holding on to that position when they made contact.
What do you see, Dave?
Front left damage, maybe sway bar. Definitely one thing this team wants to do right now is get that left front on as quickly as they can, get this car down to try not to lose a lap. Billy Venturini very adamant on the radio, but I don't think it's going to happen, guys.
And there you see them trying to get that left front on. There is Hailie Deegan. The right side of that race car has got to have some damage on it after that contact with the 20 of Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith has won 2 races this year at Phoenix and Lucas Oil Raceway. Hailie Deegan, there is a look at that right side. You see the letters on that General Tire kind of rubbed off that machine.
We also saw the right front behind the headlight caved in a bit on that Ford Fusion on her car.
Let's go back to Dave.
Well, with that extra time, Billy Venturini electing to make a couple of changes. There's the wrench goes in both sides of the back window there to try to make that 20 car a little bit better. Chandler Smith very concerned about the handling of this race car heading into it, and it obviously wasn't handling very well or wasn't racy enough to avoid that contact with Hailie Deegan. So the 20 car, their task now will try to be able to get that lap back somehow, some way, and if so, then Chandler Smith can still make this a pretty interesting race.
In practice earlier today, Jim, Hailie Deegan had the fastest of all the race cars that were here. Chandler Smith had a very good practice, didn't have that good qualifying run that he had hoped for, but Hailie Deegan definitely did not perform in qualifying the way she wanted to.
Yeah, as good as she qualified, I know she wanted to win this pole position. General Tire puts out money. There's a point on the line. She's racing for the Bounty Rookie Challenge. She's right there, 3rd in the points. I mean, she really needs to perform at every level in this series. And that 1 point would have made a difference. And you see that the 20 car, Smith is back in the pits. That left front is not flat.
Yeah.
Billy Venturini likes to run low air pressures on the left front, probably lower than recommended, but they have had a magical success, especially on short tracks. We mentioned Elko Speedway. Last year, Chandler Smith dominated that race, led over 100 laps in that 200-lapper on that short oval in Minnesota. So they were expecting a lot of the same. They wanted to come up with maybe the same setup initially and then change things around. And as they find out here, there's more to it than just getting around this racetrack. What's up, Dave? Down to the pits. What's going on?
Well, obviously now the attention is on the right front of that car. Counting the number of times that wrench turns, this all in preparation for that first race break, which is 35 laps away. Trying to get Chandler racy enough now that they can make the big change that they want to make here coming up at the break.
We'll keep an eye on how Chandler Smith does when he gets back out onto the racetrack, but the problem is he is a lap down. That's not what he wanted to see early on in this one.
We're going to keep an eye here on what he looked like after the damage, after the spin, coming through. So he got the car righted off the corner. This is right after he spun. The left front's down for sure. That's grinding a lot. That's sparking not just in the wheel hitting the ground. That could be another suspension component, as you alluded to, Bob. That lower control arm, that could have got some serious damage. Lower control arm boats have been known to shear off on occasion.
Back to green. Brett Holmes leading. Look at who moved into second. That number 25 of Michael Self to the outside. Drew Dollar, trouble for that rookie competitor. Dollar in the Sunbelt Rentals number 15 to the attention of his team. possible problem with the left rear tire on that car.
Pitting on both sides of the 5th mile in the infield. He did not get up to speed, Bob. He pulled right in the pits on the restart.
Trouble early on in this one for several of our top competitors. Dave, what's going on with the 15?
Diving under the left side of that car, not for the wheel though. A lot of electronics, ignition, battery type issues. That car stumbling very, very badly when that green flag came out.
And you can see there is some tin work back there. That's where the battery is. And I would speculate that that's what they are working on right now. Remember, Drew Dollar came in 3 points shy of the Bounty Rookie Challenge. Haley Deegan, who now runs in the top 5, is leading that Rookie of the Year honors chase in the ARCA Menards Series. So this could have a drastic effect for Drew Dollar's chance at that title.
They're only 2 points apart in 3rd and 4th in the standings, so it's a huge swing and more than just the Bounty Rookie Challenge. There's a lot more money paid off to finish 3rd in points than 4th.
Michael Self grabs 2nd. Ty Gibbs wants it back. He's in the Monster Energy number 18. Big win at Gateway just 1 week ago. He went back-to-back 2019 and 2020 at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Michael Self led the opening laps there, but he had a right rear track bar actually unwind on him. They didn't realize it, but Michael was really driving that car hard all race long, spun out and was really critical on himself. He was down on himself thinking, man, I got to do better. I got to earn this championship. And right now, racing with Ty Gibbs.
Oh, no, trouble. Gibbs gets into the 25 of Michael Self. Self saves it as Gibbs lifted off the throttle, but now damage to the 25 of point leader Michael Self.
And I'm looking at that left front tire, Bob. I don't know.
He had trouble at Gateway. Had some difficult times there and finished 15th. Now trouble for him here at Lebanon. Oh, this is going to get interesting because the man that sits 2nd in the points chase is 1st in this race.
He's got a 2-second lead right now on the field, and Michael Self is limping here. You can see the smoke now coming. It's not from dragging the left front valance. That appears to be tire rub on the number 25 Sinclair Lubricants Toyota.
Self is now back to 6th. He's trying to hold on, hoping that that left front fender doesn't rub against that general tire and cut it here. He's trying to hang on to that first race break at or around lap 75.
There's a tear in the composite body. The nose actually fits on the body at the top of the fender there. You can see the difference right where it's kind of sawed there. Here's where the nose matches up with the fender, and that's what's rubbing on the left front leading edge of the tire. Right there, we see him still fighting through that position, and no doubt it's a handful right now for him as well.
2 consecutive tough weeks for Michael Self, but he's not done. Can he hang on to the first race break and get that left front fixed? He's the point leader in the ARCA Menards Series. Closing in on the first race break for the ARCA Menards Series in the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. The 21 of Sam Mayer, man, he was shot out of a cannon because he was behind both Gibbs and Self, now in 2nd and right on the back bumper of the 23. And guess who else is there?
Oh, man, here comes Haley Deegan. Even with that right front damage, she is putting together some really strong runs here. Sam Mayer squeaked past her here a couple laps ago to get that 2nd position. They're both gaining quickly on Brett Holmes, who led from the pole.
And they are catching the 20 machine of Chandler Smith, who had that earlier incident with Haley Deegan. He's now a couple of laps down, trying to hang on to this first race break. But Brett Holmes trying to get around that Venturini Motorsports number 20.
May not be that easy again, getting to the bottom. Brett Holmes has not had to race down there before, but he knows he has to get to the bottom to get around this number 20 machine. It's critical because there is a free pass awarded. We know cars can make up laps, multiple laps here.
3 wide just momentarily at Lebanon, Missouri. Haley Deegan to 2nd. Look at those brake rotors glowing on the right front and the left front for the 4 machine. Deegan charging to the inside, trying to get an edge on the 23. Haley Deegan trying to go to the lead here at I-44 Speedway. They rub going into turn number 1 early at Lebanon, Missouri. Haley Deegan to 2nd. Look at those brake rotors glowing on the right front and the left front for the 4 machine. Deegan charging to the inside, trying to get an edge on the 23. Haley Deegan trying to go to the lead here at I-44 Speedway. They rub going into turn number 1. They rub again, and around goes Brett Holmes. Haley Deegan contact with the 23. And the man that sits second in the point standings has spun in between turns 1 and 2.
We talk close quarters racing, but man, Hailie Deegan for the second time going into turn 1 just had enough room for herself. Maybe that car drifted up a little bit. Brett Holmes' car we know wasn't as strong as her car or Sam Mayer's. They closed in on him. Brett Holmes just made that pass on Chandler Smith, and then all sorts of things broke loose.
Here's the auto park it replay. They rubbed going into turn number 1, and then Deegan, the Ford just did not turn going into the corner.
And look at Holmes posturing here, trying to get to the inside, trying to run his line. That's lower than generally the line has been on the outside, so it might have been a little bit of both. I think Holmes maybe got down in the corner thinking he might have been clear of Hailie going into turn 1.
The onboard camera, that Sioux Chief camera for Brett Holmes, took a wild ride into the corner. I'm sure he's pretty frustrated right now inside the cockpit of that 23, trying to battle Michael Self for the championship. And because of that spin, he's out of the lead. He dominated early on in this one. And there's Hailie Deegan. More damage now to the right rear and the rear of that number 4.
A lot of close quarters.
Took a wild ride into the corner. I'm sure he's pretty frustrated right now inside the cockpit of that 23, trying to battle Michael Self for the championship. And because of that spin, he's out of the lead. He dominated early on in this one. And there's Hailie Deegan. More damage now to the right rear and the rear of that number 4.
A lot of close quarters racing, and Hailie's won 3 races on short tracks in the NASCAR, now ARCA Menards Series West, but it was on last lap passes. For her to run this close and maneuver herself into position here, she's showing some aggression here, but it's not the end of the race, so maybe some guys aren't going to be so pleased with her maneuvering thus far in this race.
Remember, we told you that the race breaks would come at or around lap 75 and 150. Well, we have our first race break coming after 72 laps of 200 completed here in Missouri.
The ARCA Menards Series is live on MAV TV.
And the green flag is out for the ARCA Menards Series. Hey, you got to do what you got to do when everything is on the line. Oh! Into the grass and kept it under control. Good job by that young racer.
Contact there, Bob. Wow.
Live in September. Check MAVTV.com for air times.
Hailie Deegan in the lead during this first race break for the ARCA Menards Series at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. The Zinsser Smart Coat 200, but she has some significant damage to the right rear of that machine and the right front. She's been involved in 2 separate incidents leading up to this first race break of the night. Interesting times. Brett Holmes, second in points, had been leading up until that contact, and now he has some damage as well to his car. He is scored in 7th. This is part of the Sioux Chief Showdown, this race here in Missouri, and it's been an exciting year so far. This is a race within the ARCA Menards Series to honor another champion of the short tracks and the road course at Daytona.
And Sioux Chief has really stepped up. It's a 10-race series, and they're putting nearly $1 million on the line for the overall champion and the purse structure that breaks out into what is the 10 great racetracks we get to race on this year. Chandler Smith opened up the season really well. Ty Gibbs was showing strong, and then here comes Toledo.
4 race winners so far in the Sioux Chief Showdown. Sam Mayer, certainly one of those, as you mentioned, those big wins at Toledo. Michael Self in round 6, and then last week at Gateway, Ty Gibbs, his second victory of the year in the Sioux Chief Showdown. And because of that, he climbs up there in the point standings just a little bit. Chandler Smith by only 2 points over Sam Mayer. Ty Gibbs is only 4 markers out.
Race points only count, so no points additional for the pole or leading a lap or leading the most. This is on race points alone. It's a 2-point difference between those 2 drivers.
Chandler Smith might be losing some ground here tonight. He has scored 9th, 2 laps down. So Sam Mayer and Ty Gibbs can take advantage of that in the Sioux Chief Showdown tonight here in Missouri. You want drama? We got it tonight on MAV TV with the ARCA Menards Series. Sam Mayer damaged the left front of his machine after he made contact with now leader Hailie Deegan after Deegan made contact with the 23 of Brett Holmes and he spun. So Deegan will lead the field back to the green flag here. Sam Mayer second, Ty Gibbs with damage as well. Taylor Gray in that 17 Ford, I don't think he has any damage just yet, so he may be one of the only clean race cars here, now 72 laps into this race. Deegan has been involved in a couple of incidences. She leads the field back to the green.
Her right rear damage came from that left front fender of that Chevrolet that Sam Mayer starting inside of her in that number 21. Great run by Sam on the bottom, but Haley with the definite advantage, getting the choice of lane and took the top side.
It's so hard to get the momentum on the bottom off the corner here. You can get down in there, but that head of steam that you need, it's just hard to get the traction on the bottom side of the racetrack with that outside groove and this progressive banking really paying off.
And as much as we talk about the West Series having tracks like this, hey, Sam Mayer spent the last 2 years full-time in the ARCA Menards Series East and won the championship last year. His wins came on bigger tracks, but when it comes to short track racing, he's done a lot of it lately in the late model stocks with Junior Motorsports 3 years ago, and the last 2 years full-time in the East.
Mayer losing a little ground to Haley Deegan. There is Taylor Gray, 15-year-old kid. How good has he been in only a limited number of starts so far this year?
Head down, just goes after it and said, hey man, I've got 3 things I need to worry about. I need to worry about mindset of having fun, winning races, and execute. He gets a chance on occasion to go in the simulator and do what he can to get better at what he knows is his racecraft. These short tracks, though, are second to none. He was at 13 years of age winning in the car's late model stock tour. He went to Hickory and ran a full season there. I mean, he's got a lot of short track experience, and by age, he can't run all the big tracks. He couldn't even run the Sioux Chief Showdown in Phoenix because he wasn't 15 yet. I mean, there's a lot of veteran moves this kid's been doing. We've seen here on MAV in this series and just the 6 starts he's had so far. Great runs, top 5s.
Ty Gibbs trying to work his way to the inside of Taylor Gray. We were looking at that General Tire onboard camera from the 25 of Michael Self, and we saw just about a lap ago that 18 catch the inside groove right down there on the apron and kind of wiggle that Monster Energy machine off the corner. Coincidentally, right now, Michael Self running 5th. Second place in points, Brett Holmes running in 6th.
Both overcoming damage, and you know what? When it comes to racing, Brett made a comment recently to me about how close they raced together. 6 times they said they finished within 1 position in the race. At the end of the race, they've done a lot of racing together. No contact there. I don't see it playing out other than let's get our car better. Let's win this race by out-dueling each other without having to bang off each other for position. They've done that successfully to this point in 2020.
Ty Gibbs might have the better race car right now, but he can't get that groove that he needs to pull off this move. A couple of times he stuck his nose to the inside of that blue and white number 17, but just can't quite get there. And look, he's got damage to the right front of his machine, and the man that is right behind him, Michael Self, is the guy that he got that damage from. Those two made contact a little bit earlier in the race.
You see Ty almost dirt tracking through the corner here. That car is not handling perfectly. Out the front window, we see Michael Self. And there's, I think, Ty getting in the wall a little bit with that sparking off the backside of that black car just ahead.
This is a great vantage point in that General Tire camera to see how they get around this progressive banking. You hear how much he's off the gas, and that car is rolling in the center of the corner. And by the way, he does not have a left front white fender. That's all duct tape on there. We mentioned that contact between the 25 and the 18 of Ty Gibbs, Michael Self and Gibbs getting into it. Let's check it out from our Auto Park It replay.
Yeah, battle for 4th, went into turn 1. I say that Ty was in the right spot, but Michael Self was also coming down the track just a little bit. We saw Ty wiggle as he entered the corner, thinking he had to stay off of Self. Couldn't help it.
And another factor that might go into what we're seeing here tonight is there have been some weepers around this racetrack. Heavy rain fell earlier today, and the track crew here, Bob Sargent and his entire team, have been working diligently all day long on keeping that water down into the surface.
And another factor, not being here before. How is it going to be on used tires going too wide? Can the bottom hold, because that banking's not as great on the bottom in 1. It looks like turn 3 and 4 are much better banked than turns 1 and 2, just by the naked eye.
Brett Holmes trying to work his way by Chandler Smith. Smith, unfortunately, is a couple of laps down in this one. Right now, Michael Self leads the standings coming into this race by 7 points, but by virtue of his General Tire Pole Award, Brett Holmes has already closed that gap to 6. He led a bunch of laps early trying to move his way back through the field, and right now he has the point leader in his sights. A little contact with Chandler Smith going down into turn number 1. What can you tell me about the 23, Dave?
Well, in addition to the frustration of being turned around by Haley Deegan, now Brett Holmes finds himself behind a pair of Venturini cars. That one in front of him, though, the 25 happens to be the point leader. It cannot be in a good position right now, as that 25 has a little extra ounce of protection, if you will. Brett Holmes has got the faster car, probably among the 3 cars there, but he simply cannot get around the 20. Extra frustration prompting Shane Huffman and other guys on his team to say, hey, listen, we're in a championship run. Let's act like we're champions, as he spun the 20.
Well, it was a little contact down there, Dave, and that contact, Chandler Smith coming down the racetrack, the 23 stuck his nose in there.
Chandler Smith and Michael Self are also teammates. Chandler Smith is 2 laps down right now. He was doing a run there to keep Brett Holmes from passing him. No matter what position they're racing for, Chandler made it really hard for Brett Holmes to pull even.
Let's check it out with our Auto Park It replay. There you see the contact, and then the 20 goes around. We have a couple more looks at it here. There is that contact. Smith coming down the racetrack. Brett Holmes had kept on making that run to the inside, and he slipped up the racetrack a little bit too.
But the lap prior, he got really sent down low by Chandler Smith, so that could have been I'm not going to move this time. If you come across my nose, you'll find out what spinning feels like for the second time tonight. Chandler Smith went around. Again, he's 2 laps down. Frustrated, no doubt. He had a bad run at Gateway in the Truck Series. He told his team, hey, man, it's on me. I need to be better. I need to give my guys more. And coming into this short track race, he had a lot of confidence knowing how good Billy Venturini puts together an ARCA car for him to race here on these short tracks.
Everybody in that pit area today pointed to the 20 of Chandler Smith as the car to beat. Even Sam Mayer, who rides second right now. But Chandler Smith, after qualifying today, I texted him. I said, how's that race car?
Yeah.
He said, it's like a dump truck. And when you say it's like a dump truck, what you're saying is it doesn't turn in the center of the corner. So that's just an old short track terminology right now. Chandler Smith now coming on pit road. But you can tell he's had difficulty getting that car to turn on entry and in the center of the corner.
And even if it is pits closed, you'll have to go to the back of the field on this restart. Doesn't matter. He wants to get that car in to get it looked at. They have a limited number of tires in the pits. He already had to change the left front tire, so they're kind of out of sequence there already with their tire use. They can only add fuel on the race brake, so that's not going to add fuel here to help his balance with the weight in the rear. So now they have to do it the left front and doing some, looks to be some heavy changes on the left front suspension via the wrench.
Yeah, they're taking a crack at it right now, trying to get that car to pivot in the center of the corner. It's been a tough night for Chandler Smith, who leads the Sioux Chief Showdown point standings coming into this one. But I think that's going to be hurt here tonight. He may lose that overall championship standings in the Sioux Chief Showdown. Let's show you what has occurred for the 20 machine over the course of the last handful of races. Up and down for the kid out of Talking Rock, Georgia. That trouble when he was running well at Toledo. Had a broken sway bar, and then he came back to a second place run the next day. Spun his car, rebounded to a 9th place run at the Daytona Road Course, and right back to a runner-up finish at Worldwide Technology Raceway last week. Good times and bad times, but in Chandler Smith's mind, even a second place run is not satisfying for him.
Yeah, he's won a lot in this series. His last win came at Lucas Oil Raceway back in June, so it's a dry spell for this young driver, used to winning just about every other race. 9 out of 27 now he is.
Dave Reef, it has been a tough night for the Venturini Motorsports team.
It most certainly has, guys, as all 3 of the cars have been on pit road here during this race break. Obviously, the most frustrated among them, Chandler Smith, a guy we're used to seeing up front, a guy who's used to racing up front, just simply not having good luck tonight, as is Michael Self. But Drew Dollar continues to be here. All 3 of the Venturini cars suffering in different ways tonight, which makes it very, very frustrating. I've seen Big Bill on top of the box there for Drew Dollar. Very animated tonight, not happy with his race team's efforts thus far. They're trying, just not having any luck.
And right now, Drew Dollar, 11th overall, 5 laps down. Remember, 3 points behind Haley Deegan in that Sunbelt Rentals number 15. Deegan is the leader of this race, trying to become the first female ever to win in the ARCA Menards Series.
Yeah, we've had Shauna Robinson finish second. We've seen Aaron Crocker finish second on 3 occasions. Haley herself finished second at Daytona. Nicole Behar actually holds the record for the best short track finish of 3rd on a short track. Haley's best run on a short track was earlier this year at Lucas Oil Raceway with a top 5 run there with a 5th place finish. Big deal. Could be a huge night for Haley Deegan and this number 4 monster team.
Looks like we're getting ready for a restart. The lights are off on the pace car. Sam Mayer, 2 wins at Toledo. Kidded him with today. I said, man, you got to win at another track besides Toledo. He says, I'm looking forward to next week when we go back to Toledo. But he's also looking forward to tonight. He didn't think he had the best car, but he's put himself in position to challenge for the victory tonight as we go back green here in Missouri. The 21 trying to get the lead at the halfway point of this one, but Haley Deegan able to hold him off. Deegan very impressive tonight. You mentioned this racetrack a little bit like some of the racetracks that she's seen on the West Coast in the ARCA Menards Series West.
Her chief for the 21 car, Marty Lindley, told me this track looks a little bit like Las Vegas Bull Ring. She's only raced at that facility on the
lead at the halfway point of this one, but Haley Deegan able to hold him off. Deegan very impressive tonight. You mentioned this racetrack a little bit like some of the racetracks that she's seen on the West Coast in the ARCA Menards Series West.
Her chief for the 21 car, Marty Lindley, told me this track looks a little bit like Las Vegas Bull Ring. She's only raced at that facility on the dirt, but Sam Mayer went there and won this year in the opener for the West Series. So he was hoping that would parlay into this. And Marty also intimated this number 21 car has 7 wins of Sam's 9 across the ARCA platform. Very happy with the race car they brought here, but look at this. He's trying to do everything he can to stay with Haley. She had a great restart. He had a really good restart for what we've seen on the bottom group.
They better go now because that 23 is moving through the field. Brett Holmes, leader earlier in this race, has moved by Taylor Gray, has moved by Michael Self. Self back to 6. Brett Holmes now in 4th and stalking the top 3.
Ty Gibbs would be the first to try the bottom in that black number 18. He got into Mayer.
Little contact between Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer. Those two have built up a little bit of a rivalry in the ARCA Menards Series.
If you watched our most recent race, these guys get to race every week live on MAV. It seems like a Gateway. They were really close on a late.
Brett Holmes now in 4th and stalking the top 3.
Ty Gibbs would be the first to try the bottom in that black number 18. He got into Mayer.
Little contact between Ty Gibbs and Sam Mayer. Those two have built up a little bit of a rivalry in the ARCA Menards Series.
If you watched our most recent race, these guys get to race every week live on MAV. It seems like a Gateway. They were really close on a late race restart, and Sam Mayer told me this week, man, I'm still not happy. He shut the door on me on that last restart. I'm still upset about it. Had he left me room I deserved, I think I would have won that race. So Sam on these restarts, man, he's learning as he goes, but he really thought he got robbed of a win potentially as Ty went high on a restart with Sam on his outside, and Sam had to jab the brakes. He said, if I didn't, would have been 2 good race cars put in the wall.
Mayer had 2 good race cars on consecutive days at Gateway between the ARCA Menards Series, and he also competed in the NASCAR trucks.
He led 24 laps, had the fastest lap in the truck race, but unfortunately on a late race restart, he had the lead, spun his tires. He said, man, I learned a lot on how to do restarts in the truck series. You just got to go. Sheldon Creed and 2 other trucks got by him. Sam had to settle for 4th in what would have been the best truck, he thought, on the racetrack.
Taylor Gray trying to move back to the inside of the 23 of Brett Holmes. He looks to have a strong
fastest lap in the truck race, but unfortunately on a late race restart, he had the lead, spun his tires. He said, man, I learned a lot on how to do restarts in the truck series. You just got to go. Sheldon Creed and 2 other trucks got by him. Sam had to settle for 4th in what would have been the best truck, he thought, on the racetrack.
Taylor Gray trying to move back to the inside of the 23 of Brett Holmes. He looks to have a strong race car here tonight, Dave.
Racing Electronics Communications capturing commentary between the two. Crew chief and driver talking about Taylor Gray just settling in behind the 23. They know that that car is anxious to get up front with Ty Gibbs in front of him. They say wait till the 23 makes a mistake, and that will get you into 4th place.
I love watching that backstretch line. They're dancing on that yellow line. There's no backstretch wall back there, but man, they're getting awfully close to going too far over the edge.
Oh yeah, there's a teeter-totter point there down the backstretch. Brett Holmes now running 4th, 2nd in points here at Lebanon. The Richmond Water Heaters mid-race recap of the Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Brett Holmes on the General Tire Pole Award, and then trouble behind him. Haley Deegan makes contact with Chandler Smith. Chandler Smith, who led the Sioux Chief points coming into this one. Trouble in this race. Trouble as well for point leader Michael Self in the 25. And then Haley Deegan making contact with the man that sits second in the point standings, and the early race dominator, the 23 of Brett Holmes. Holmes drove up next to Haley Deegan and looked like actually he might have put his hand outside the window. More unbelievable racing here throughout this one, but Haley Deegan leads just past the midway point in this race.
And we are under caution, Bob, as we look around here. There's been some close racing. As we look at the halfway point, Haley has actually led her first laps in the ARCA Menards series here tonight. She's led the last 50 or so. Good run by her thus far.
Yeah, a couple of cautions in this one, but Deegan has been impressive. We are now under caution here at Lebanon I-44 Speedway for the third time in this race. Haley Deegan over Sam Mayer and Ty Gibbs. Chandler Smith, that crew continues to earn their paycheck here today, Dave.
Well, Bob and Jim, the yellow came out actually because Chris White and Chandler Smith got together. Chandler for the third time is back in, making some adjustments there. A left rear tire that was down, a track bar, just trying to get this race car tightened up. But boy, has it been a frustrated night for Chandler Smith. And you know, if he were out of this race car right now, you could definitely read it on his body.
Yeah, I'm sure Chandler Smith, who is one of the big prospects in American racing right now, coming into the ARCA Menards series, winning a bunch of races, 2 so far this year, but lately he's been void of victory lane, and that has bothered Chandler a little. Auto Park It replay of what happened.
That's Brett Holmes on the inside.
This is earlier in the night.
That was spin number 1 for the 20. Actually, spin number 2.
Right now, it's in survival mode for he and that Venturini Motorsports team, leading the Sioux Chief Showdown points by 2 markers over Sam Mayer and Ty Gibbs. Mayer and Gibbs second and third in this race currently. So Sam Mayer, I believe, he's got a shot, as does Ty Gibbs, but Chandler Smith will just want to hold on to whatever position he can get to garner up any points he can get, but I believe he might be in jeopardy of losing that Sioux Chief Showdown point lead.
Yeah, the team also just moved into third after Gateway into the owner's point standings ahead of Brett Holmes. Splitting time with 2 or 3 drivers this season is this number 20 for Bill Venturini, who actually went to the owner's championship head table last year with a couple of drivers they had racing for them, including Chandler, who was so dominant last year on short tracks, led the most laps of any other team in the Valvoline Lap Leader Award the last 2 seasons in partial schedules.
Haley Deegan, as you can tell by the damage on that race car, has been involved in a couple of mishaps tonight, and she has gotten that reputation of an aggressive race car driver out in the K&N West circuit in the past couple of years. She's won a few races, but some of them have come with some contact.
Yeah, last lap contact for all 3 wins. The left front damage, I'm glad we got to see again the Richmond Waters halfway recap. We saw the mid-race recap. We saw how hard...
Haley Deegan, as you can tell by the damage on that race car, has been involved in a couple of mishaps tonight, and she has gotten that reputation of an aggressive race car driver out in the K&N West circuit in the past couple of years. She's won a few races, but some of them have come with some contact.
Yeah, last lap contact for all 3 wins. The left front damage, I'm glad we got to see again the Richmond Waters halfway recap. We saw the mid-race recap. We saw how hard Sam Mayer had to get on the brakes to not cause further damage as he came upon Haley's car when that spin happened in turn 1. So for Sam Mayer to be able to just jam on the binders and hit the rear of her car as he did, a glancing blow I would call it, that was a huge move by Sam to jump on the brakes and not do any more damage to his car or that of Haley Deegan's.
Third place is Ty Gibbs. There is Chandler Smith, that hood going back on the race car. The hood pins going in. We're going green again. Mayer has been in this position a couple of times with Haley Deegan. Deegan has been able to get that run on the outside off of turn number 2. Let's see if it's a different story this time around, or will Haley Deegan grab the lead here now, 125 laps in. Here comes Holmes. Brett Holmes up to third, inches in front of Ty Gibbs. Sam Mayer wasn't able to get it done on the inside. That is just so difficult down on the bottom.
Tried something different on that restart, Bob. He went way to the infield. He was about 4 feet inside the yellow line to try to see if there's any moment there, because that turning moment could have happened because the apron is so flat. He was trying to use that as a helper in the turn to get an advantage off of Haley. We see Taylor Gray down there right now as well, below the yellow line, trying to find grip down low to make that pass on the 25 itself, or at least hold it behind him here.
Shortest way around this racetrack. Sometimes you try to dip that left front down there to turn that race car. So everybody with no knowledge really in ARCA Menards Series competition coming into this race, trying to figure out what they need to do. Remember, we still have one more race break coming up at or around lap 150. So we're just about 20 laps shy of that right now. There's Sam Mayer. He's looking to get that outside to in momentum that sometimes we see in dirt racing.
The pressure could be in Haley's mirror. It could be upon the spotter stand. Eric Holmes, the spotter, for the number 4 of Haley Deegan. She's no doubt telling him where he's stronger. Aware that 21 is looking stronger off the corner, and Haley's just got to run her line. Maybe she's just relying upon what she hears rather than what she sees in that mirror right now.
Dave Reef, what do you know about that 4 car?
Well, I can tell you exactly the word that Haley Deegan is hearing repeatedly in her ear. After another great restart, settling into that top group, her team continues to tell her, just find that rhythm, find that beat, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be able to hold that 21. Rhythm is something we talked about at the beginning, we're talking about right now, and I guarantee we'll have another comment about it or two before this race is done.
Last race at Gateway, she gave away a top 5 run, no question, by overdriving the corner. Turn 3, took her a long time to recover from that. She never really did fully recover. She's blamed herself. She said, I'm overdriving the corner. I need to back up my corner. Now with the matched effort of her short track comfort, and now Eric Holmes reminding her of that, her spotter, getting that comfort is also doing something she's not used to doing. Not overdriving the corner, not over-abusing the car on entry to hold Sam Mayer off. I also saw her line a bit lower, Bob. That half a width lower means that Sam Mayer's going to have to go a lot lower if he wants to get around the leader in the 4.
How about that Sioux Chief camera right there showing Brett Holmes get all sorts of loose coming off the corner and watching the top pair in this race, Haley Deegan and Sam Mayer. Haley might be having a little bit of a slower pace than she did just prior to this latest restart. Sam Mayer right all over that Monster Energy number 4, trying to get that momentum on the outside. If he can get alongside, she's going to have to give him the lane, and he could possibly bolt into the lead. 65 laps or so on these used tires. They hopefully have what they need in their mindset and their discussions here. We'll have one more race break before the end of this one. But on these used tires, who's got a better run? Because we're going to have a 50-lap run to the finish. And if we don't get any cautions at 50 laps, you better be good. At this point in that segment, we're kind of mirroring right now what may play out later in the race. So Sam Mayer not able to challenge here. Haley's actually been able to pull him by a couple of lengths here. Getting closer to the next race break, and that'll set up a dash for the cash tonight in Lebanon, Missouri. Sam Mayer outside, inside. He wants the lead, but he can't get it because right now it's all Haley Deegan in the number 4 for DGR Crossley. And she has been aggressive tonight and now in the lead, trying to be very patient.
And you're not seeing things. There's a yellow line that delineates the backstretch wall. And thankfully for your I-44 Speedway, Brett Holmes is going to say thank you, because had there been a wall in turns 1 and 2, he would have been in it and done for the night. He spun off in this grass we see on the right-hand side in the corner. So this track does have some forgiveness to it, but I really think Haley's dancing on that yellow line in the backstretch, man. That tipping point's getting closer as these laps wind on.
And it looks like she has been going lower and lower in the corners, maybe in a protective mode.
Just doesn't give Sam Mayer a chance much to look for a different line to get around her, because she's consistently moving down off the exit of the corner, this time a bit higher that time, so giving Sam a breath of hope, but that breath went away quickly here in lap traffic.
The K&N Filter's biggest mover of the race so far is Sam Mayer, up 4 spots, now digging to the inside. Mayer, nope. Got on the apron and really got that car loose coming off of 4.
And Haley really cranked the wheel on that Ford across the corner to get to the bottom, knowing the charge that Sam Mayer had. So good run by Haley to protect that position.
Trying to work around the 20 of Chandler Smith. Smith first in the Sioux Chief Showdown points. Mayer second, coming in just 2 points behind that 20 machine. So if it were to finish like this, Sam Mayer would be the new point leader in the Sioux Chief Showdown.
And we're going back to Toledo Speedway as our next race on MAV. That's exactly where Sam Mayer put his car in victory lane not once but twice on a doubleheader weekend a month ago.
I think everybody just holding steady to this next race break in just a few laps.
Well, that's Taylor Gray.
Yeah, I was going to say, except if you're a 15-year-old, he doesn't know any better. That's 17 looking strong to the back bumper of the 18 of Ty Gibbs.
And I love his attack mode. You know what he said to me this week? My best friend for the last 7 years is Ty Gibbs. We don't talk racing much, but they're the drivers of this black 18, and we're talking about Taylor and that blue 17.
Contact. Contact between the 17 of Taylor Gray and the 18 of Ty Gibbs. Right in front of them is Brent Holmes in the 23. He's trying to work his way around Chandler Smith. He finally does, but that slowed Brent Holmes down just a tad.
Taylor does not want to be the last train in this run here, last car in the train. We also saw him pick up 2 spots late in the going at Lucas Oil Raceway right before a race break, did Taylor Gray. So he's not afraid to ride, but he doesn't want to do that often. We saw him pick up 2 spots late in that run, and here he is still on the chip, heading into this race break that's going to come in a few laps.
Expecting a caution at any time now. 150 laps are now complete. And Michael Self. Trouble for the point leader, Michael Self, into the wall hard, down in turn number 3.
That's a lot of damage. Lots of damage. We saw him hop skippity there. There's Chris Wright coming down off the banking as well. That tapers off above the yellow line of the delineating the racetrack. And oh, man, for those 2 cars to go that hard and Michael to slide that far in the wet grass, that's a big blow to our point leader. Huge.
Significant damage, not to Chris Wright. He's got a little mark on the back end of that car, but look at that mangled up number 25 for Michael Self, the point leader. He's going to bring that car to the attention as soon as all the cars are brought down pit road during this second and final race break. Haley Deegan leads into this race break. She's got now under 50 laps to go to try to become the first lady to win in the ARCA Menards Series. She finished 2nd at Daytona, 3rd at Lucas Oil Raceway. Can she do it here tonight? She has been aggressive. She's hoping to be all smiles in victory lane tonight. ARCA Menards Series point leader Michael Self with a lot of damage after the second incident of the night at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. Second race break right now, and that Venturini Motorsports team is trying to repair that race car because he's in jeopardy of losing the overall point lead in the ARCA Menards Series with second place point man Brett Holmes running 3rd. Last year, it was very similar to what we're seeing right now in the second half of the season. And that lost championship from 1 year ago is certainly on Michael Self's mind.
I'm obviously very bitter about how last year ended. I have to remind myself, I've won races over here and I've been a constant competitor, and we just all have to work together to make things right versus putting the blame one spot or another, and that comes to the same as me with putting blame on myself. I think that as a coach, I'm always coaching, critiquing myself. Sometimes maybe a little bit too critical, and that's something I've been working on a little bit this year, but I don't like being the guy that blames the equipment. I like knowing that I'm with one of the best teams in the ARCA Menards Series, a team that's extremely established and a team that's got a great backing behind it and a ton of resources. My focus right now is Venturini Motorsports needs to be winning races, and we're not doing that. We all have to come together and figure out how to do that, and that's no different than it was last year.
Michael Self last year actually felt he was on the defensive, and he was, and it cost him that championship last year, Bob, to his teammate Christian Eckes. It came down to a short track that really started that domino of degradation. He ran into his teammate at Elko coming to the checkered flag, and he didn't really recover from that. Wanted to be on the offense, just didn't have that feel last year, and he ended up losing the championship by 15 points. Let's go down to Dave Reef.
Well, guys, now trouble in St. Louis. Again, trouble here tonight in Lebanon. But it is a frustrated driver that does have a very calm crew chief. Said, bring the car down. Let's work on the left side tires first. Take care of as much of that damage as we can on the left side before we change tires and add fuel and get back out there. There is one big concern, though. It did catch a little electronic communication there on the racing electronic scanner between the two. Michael Self, after righting himself over in the corner, bringing a car down the front stretch, did say he felt like something did break in the rear end of that car. So Michael Self trying to avoid getting snake bit once again. Championship that is in his grasp beginning to slip away a little bit.
So possibly suspension problems as well. As Dave noted, maybe something broke under the rear end of the 25. Hailie Deegan, though, she'll lead the field back to the green flag when we come back to Lebanon, Missouri. It's the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 for the ARCA Menards Series in Missouri.
The ARCA Menards Series is brought to you by Auto Park It. The future of parking is here. See it at autoparkit.com. Richmond Water Heaters, the water heater experts. Hers, forever good. And by Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing, drain. The ARCA Menards Series is brought to you by Auto Park It. The future of parking is here. See it at autoparkit.com. Richmond Water Heaters, the water heater experts. Hers, forever good. And by Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing, drainage, supply, and support products.
This next restart in the ARCA Menards Series at Lebanon, Missouri could be interesting. Might be one of the most critical of the race because the way things have been going, if they get strung out, we may go, we're less than 50 laps to go, we may go green the rest of the way, and we know how difficult it has been for anybody to pass under green flag momentum style racing.
Sam Mayer's got to get it right here on this restart. He's got to get a run on the bottom to get even with Hailie for at least 3/4 of a lap. And we need to apologize to our viewers because you've not had much chance to go in the cover to get those Hearst potato chips. We've had too much action going on here tonight at Lebanon.
There's the Sioux Chief camera for Brett Holmes. Holmes has a lot to gain tonight. He sits fourth. Michael Self right now in sixth. Self is 1 lap down after that incident with Chris Wright up in turn number 3, but he's got a lot of damage to that 25. Hailie Deegan, Sam Mayer coming back to the green at Lebanon. Oh, look at that. Sam Mayer goes way up the racetrack, cuts in front of the 4. Sam Mayer to the lead.
Great launch off of turn 4 to get that restart jump on Hailie Deegan. You want aggression? He's proven right here. Sam Mayer is a new driver in 2020. He's not about to lay down. He's not about to go, man, I wish I had done something. He's doing it right now on the racetrack, taking the lead here ahead of our onboard.
Maybe contact. Brett Holmes wants that lead. He's pretty aggressive right now. He got by Hailie Deegan. Holmes now up to second. The 23 led early, dominated the early portion of this race. And now with 43 laps to go, he's stalking the 21. But Hailie Deegan's still there. Remember what happened the last time these two went at it earlier on in the race. Contact from Deegan to the 23, and around went Holmes.
She made up 3 car lengths in just that 1 lap, Bob. She is on a tear right now. Holmes has to watch out and protect his line before he gets to challenge that lead again.
She might be frustrated with herself. Maybe she wasn't aggressive enough on that restart and allowed Sam Mayer to make that move, or she might have been just surprised by how aggressive that 21 was.
Last couple of races we've seen here in the ARCA Menards Series, we saw Ty Gibbs wheel hop at Daytona Road Course. He beat himself up for the second half of the race over that. Hailie needs to get over it here. She needs to put that behind her. She needs to be calmed down. It wasn't the greatest restart, but you know what? She had a really good car in the longer run. Now we're into this sprint mode, though. She's really going to have to push it, and guess what? Ty Gibbs has a really good race car right behind her. Matching paint jobs, different teams. That's the Coy Gibbs zone, number 18, a Toyota for Ty Gibbs.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing, so let's check it out one more time as far as that restart and what happened with our Auto Park It replay. The 4 of Hailie Deegan controlled the restart. She was the leader. Coming to the green, Sam Mayer trying to get the run, and it was a really slow pace. Mayer had it timed perfectly and just went right to the front.
And the restart line is what they have to match, and the control car has to lead there. She did, but Sam was on the gas just prior to that restart line. She had the lead, but Sam had a better launch, and it paid off right here. Oh my, this is bad. This is crazy what we're seeing in this race.
Sam Mayer has had Lauren Rainier on his side for a long time, has been the spotter for Sam Mayer. Lauren's one of the best in the business, and Sam really maturing behind the wheel, but that might have been both of them timing that out to get that start there that they did to get the lead.
And Sam spent a lot of time this week beating himself up for that Gateway truck restart where he spun his tires and lost the race in a very fast truck. There goes Ty Gibbs nearly to the parking lot. He went way over that edge and came back on the backstretch. He's pushing really hard here in that black 18.
A pair of Monster Energy machines for the 4 of Hailie Deegan and Ty Gibbs in the 18. They run 3rd and 4th. 5th is Taylor Gray in the Ford number 17. I don't think this one is done by any stretch of the imagination tonight. When you're on a short track, anything can happen at the end of the race.
Taylor has shined as well in that number 17 car we just saw. He's finished as high as 3rd, as low as 6th on road course, on short tracks. That's his worst finish. 8th at Gateway at a first time on a 1.25 mile track last race.
I want you to look at your monitor there, the scoring monitor. There's Shane Huffman. He's watching the action. Well, we mentioned because of that General Tire Pole Award, Brent Holmes 6 markers behind right now. Holmes is 2nd. Michael Self is 6th.
Michael Self in 6th position. Again, 1 point per position. Self has not led this race. Brett Holmes has. So that's another point. And Brett had the most laps led. I think Haley's now surpassed him for that additional bonus point contention here.
So it's going to close in. We may have almost a virtual tie going into next week's race at Toledo Speedway in Ohio. You'll see it live on MAV TV. Hailie Deegan right behind the 23. She's not done yet. Brent Holmes, how aggressive will he be? I'm sure Shane Huffman telling him, Michael is back in 6th. He's got damage to this car. We need to survive. We need a good finish here to go after this ARCA Menards Series championship.
And Brent Holmes and Shane Huffman have elected to go to a 2-car strategy this year, Bob. This is their primary short track car. They don't want to bring another car to a short track. They have an intermediate car and this car. They might have more in their shop, but they've focused on these 2 short track cars. So that's another thing Brent Holmes is focused on. If he needs to give up a position now, he may eventually to save this car and hopefully run to the short tracks we have upcoming on the schedule.
If you're Hailie Deegan, how about a warning from ARCA for rough driving? So now that's on her mind as she tries to make her way around Brett Holmes. You mentioned those short tracks will be at Toledo Speedway in Ohio next week. And then today we got word that we'll be in Winchester Speedway in Indiana on Saturday, September 19th. Expect more news on that out of ARCA next week.
And in between all that, they get to play on the high banks at Bristol on September 17th. So a lot of short track racing upcoming for these teams.
Plenty of racing still to come for the ARCA Menards Series. Sam Mayer with just over a 2nd lead over the 23 of Brett Holmes at Lebanon. It's the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 for the ARCA Menards Series, and we're closing in on the end of this race. 186 laps now complete. I'm Bob Dillner. Jim Trado alongside of me, Dave Reef in the pit area, Brett Holmes in the 23 in 2nd. Oh man, did you see that, Jim? Just completely sideways coming off the corner.
He does hold the track record, or did, at the Talladega short track on the dirt with his dirt late model experience, but he's really been sawing that wheel to the right more than left, it appears, at some points in the corner. Great look here on board with how he's been able to manage this racetrack, but when it gets sideways quick and in a hurry, so I think he's thinking he's got that dirt track background.
Hey, Dave, he is holding on right now to 2nd.
Holding on and doing everything he can to try to chase down that 21 with constant intervention, though, from Shane Huffman and his team, reminding him that it wasn't 5 or 10 laps ago you were in that nice tussle with the 4 car. The 23 spun earlier. But again, what's that word we talked about at the beginning of the day? What's that word we brought up in the middle of the race? It's all about rhythm. Shane Huffman telling him rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. You find it. Run your lines. You got a shot of running down that 21. But let's not forget about the bigger picture here, Shane. and that team are doing a really, really good job. Brett Holmes is going to make a big move in the points today.
But if I'm Brett Holmes, listening to my crew chief, Shane Huffman, who is a smart guy, a driver and a great crew chief, I'm saying, did you see this race car? Did you see how tough it is to hold on to this race car? Right now, he's holding on to second, but Sam Mayer dominating this one with under 10 to go, almost a 2-second lead.
And to their benefit, the last two cars you just saw on our screens, the number 23 Brett Holmes, his crew chief Shane Huffman, a racer that's been racing against Marty Lindley since like 2000. They've been racing either as drivers or crew chiefs. Marty Lindley's the crew chief on this 21 of Sam Mayer. Those guys have a great rivalry and friendship that comes to the racetrack. They talk to each other a bunch now on separate teams, but man, to see that short track passion pour through for our drivers running first and second right now, that goes back to what they did in the shop and their experience behind the wheel helping these two drivers.
We just saw the gap from first to second. 2 seconds behind is Brett Holmes. He's losing ground, but this would be a very good run for Brett Holmes, who has that Sioux Chief onboard camera. Again, we'll mention that Michael Self involved in 2 different incidents. The point leader rides 6th, but as Jim mentioned, Brett Holmes not only won the General Tire Pole Award, but also led a lap. The person that led the most laps, we believe, in this race, Haley Deegan, but right now, a little pressure for her with the number 18 of Ty Gibbs. This is a battle for third.
They're using their stuff up here, and it might get to body panels exchanging, not just black on black, but you see the front rotors on both cars glowing now. Haley's really pushing the limit. Ty might have a faster car here, but he just can't find a way by right now.
Haley has been backtracking a little bit. That car not as good as it was in the first stages of this race. The final 50 here, she's holding on.
Going a little bit wide in the corner there. Staying focused is what Haley's been coached to do this race. Ty Gibbs has a truer stance off the corners, but Haley able to dirt track and hold position.
White flag is out, and look at that lead. Monstrous. Almost 3 seconds between first and second. Battle for third. Ty Gibbs to the inside. Little contact. Around goes Deegan. Deegan spins, but Sam Mayer out in front. Now a hat trick of wins in the ARCA Menards Series for Sam Mayer out of Wisconsin. Third victory of the year as the GMS Racing team celebrates. Damage to Ty Gibbs. Gibbs finishes in fourth. Taylor Gray snuck into third.
And that race to the line was for position, so Haley got her car righted as Ty limped his way around. She dropped that gear into low and got right back on the racetrack and finished right behind Gibbs in fifth.
And remember, we mentioned Deegan and Dollar in a little bit of a tussle for the Bounty Rookie Challenge. Deegan runs in fifth tonight. Good top 5 run for her. And then Dollar back in ninth. She will extend that point lead in the Rookie of the Year battle in the ARCA Menards Series. There is Dollar. There's the pair of rookies.
Ty Gibbs is rolling up on the front stretch as well with a flat right front tire, but I'm guessing he's got a little steam between the ears as well as they got really close racing for that final top 5 position, 4th and 5th in contest there. And sent Gibbs spinning. Gibbs really got into her and she went spinning around, and Gibbs might line up or might go back to the pits. We don't know, but it's a pretty small infield, so they still might have a glare if they can't get to each other physically.
Oh, yes. Sam Mayer victorious once again in the ARCA Menards Series. His 9th straight top 4 finish in ARCA. Sam Mayer is the winner of the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 for the ARCA Menards Series at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. He'll climb out victorious for the 3rd time this year and should take over the point lead in the Sioux Chief Showdown. You hear the fans cheer for Sam Mayer down in Victory Lane, and that's where Dave Reef is as well.
And he's got to probably appreciate that nice little bath you just took there to cool things off after a hot night of short track racing. You told me earlier today, meet you later. Here we are. How'd you do it?
Yeah, this racetrack's awesome. All the grooves that you can run. If it wasn't wet, to be honest with you, but it was still a lot of fun. The restarts were hectic with all the water on the racetrack, but it was so much fun. I'm so proud to get this With Us Foundation in Victory Lane, and hopefully I can go for another one soon because I am loving this.
Let's go back to the restart. That's where this race was won or lost. Deegan had control. You guys were even at the restart line, but you were on the gas just a little sooner. You timed that right?
Yeah, I finally got my restart down. I mean, after losing the truck race at Gateway last week and on a restart, I mean, it feels really good to get a win on a restart this week.
2 in Toledo, now 1 here in Lebanon. Suddenly the wins are coming a little bit easier. Does it feel that way?
They're coming a lot more than I thought they would. I'm glad they are, but I want them every week now. I'm hungry, and this is the only thing keeping me full.
And you did it with another one of these specialty cars.
Yeah, having these foundations on board is just so special. I mean, doing it all year at every single showdown race, it just shows what this team is capable of and what everyone is capable of behind this. So it's really special, and hopefully continue to get all these foundations in victory lane.
Hey, do me a favor. Show everybody here in Lebanon I-44 Speedway how much fun it is to win. Hold up that checker flag and celebrate, baby.
Mayer goes back to the place that he won his first 2 races at, Toledo Speedway. Before we get to that, Brett Holmes second in the points, second in this race, closing in on Michael Self. Had trouble again here tonight as the point leader coming in. We're trying to do the math right now to figure out who that point leader is, but Michael Self finishes in 6th. By the way, Haley Deegan, her first top 5 run in 9 races. She's trying to get back on track.
Yeah, salvation day for Michael Self, finishing 6th. Chris Wright, hey, nice job. He's not used to this. He said, I'm out of my element. I want to get as much laps as I can. For him to rebound in 7th after what he went through tonight, a couple of spins. Nice job by that road racer turned stock car driver.
And Taylor Gray matches his best career ARCA Menards Series finish with a 3rd place run. That's the second time he has finished in 3rd. A little extracurricular activity as well during that final lap between the 4 of Haley Deegan and the 18 of Ty Gibbs. Sam Mayer is the one celebrating in victory lane. The pencils and the erasers have been working hard up here in the tower at Lebanon I-44 Speedway. The Zinsser Smart Coat 200 for the ARCA Menards Series has concluded, and we do have a tally.
We have a really good chance of getting it right because I didn't do the math.
That's right. Michael Self unofficially leads by a single point over Brett Holmes, who finishes 2nd here tonight, Dave Reef.
Well, guys, it is a thoroughly spent Brett Holmes, who started on the pole, did lead early, got involved in some typical short track nonsense of getting turned around, and has a little bit of frustration behind that mask, but I could probably make it feel a little bit better if I told you close this thing down to within a point in that runner-up finish tonight. Does that help?
Yeah, that's definitely the bright side of it in the bigger picture here. I wouldn't call it a typical short track nonsense. I just call it a lack of respect. You know, I think some drivers don't, understand what it's like to run their own team and have to pay for their own stuff, so they just race people and have to knock them out of the way every time they have to take the lead. And I don't have to race that way. I can pass clean and do it the right way. But the payback's a bitch, and it is what it is. But just props to my guys, man. This is the best short track car I've ever had, and we had the best car today. We should have won it, and. We made solid changes all day, and really proud of those guys. It's just hard not to be disappointed about 2nd, knowing we should have won it.
Well, the incident early in the race, well documented. Take me through that, and were you worried about maybe a repeat of that coming there late racing with the 4?
If that's the reputation you build, yeah, you got to worry about it. You don't that early in the race, you don't have to race that way. I passed a couple of cars pretty clean. I rubbed on a couple, but nothing like that. I didn't have to knock them out of the racetrack. So, like I said, it's just a lack of respect and being humble. And, I hate that some people are raised that way. And, but like I said, I don't want to hang my head too low. We had a phenomenal car today. And this team is, how far we've grown it to is really spectacular, and looking forward to the end goal.
Solid 2nd place finish tonight, Brett Holmes. Congratulations on that. Some of that short track emotion spilling over a little bit as we'll make our way down here and talk to our 3rd place performer, Taylor Gray, who all of a sudden was on the benefactor, if you will. Some late race going on, some stuff happening, and suddenly you're able to sneak across with a podium finish tonight. How were you able to accomplish that?
Yeah, man, just being there at the end. Just being racing everybody clean as much as I possibly could. It's really hard to pass here, and Not the greatest racing side by side, but it's all good. You know, came out with a good finish tonight. Can't thank my DGR Crosley crew for giving me a good 4 Fusion tonight and going to Toledo.
You're 15 years old. Where does this maturity come from?
Just everybody that I'm surrounded with just helps me get there that much faster. You know, so we'll just keep on working.
That is Taylor Gray, who comes home third. In just a moment, guys, we'll catch up with Haley Deegan.
What he is going through, Brandon McReynolds has already gone through as a driver. He's raced in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's won in ARCA. He is the driver coach that Taylor Gray relies upon. They go over film together, and Brandon's experience helped Noah Gragson to get where he's gotten. Now Taylor is really involved in having Brandon help him through the process of what racing is like at this level.
Haley Deegan was involved in several incidents tonight, but she led a good chunk of this race as well. Was running in the top 3 right until the end in that contact with Ty Gibbs. She winds up in the 5th spot. So Haley Deegan, her 3rd top 5 finish of the year, Jim. Let's go to Dave.
Well, Haley, let's talk a little bit about tonight. It was an adventuresome night. Some strong words from the runner-up over an early race incident, a late race incident with Ty Gibbs. But bottom line is you able to get this car home in 5th place tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the finish we wanted. I felt like we had a lot better car than we finished. It was just mayhem when you're racing the whole bottom lane and it's pretty much all wet down there, so you can't really make passes. So it's a little difficult track to pass at. There wasn't really any spots you can make passes without it getting dirty here and there, people wrecking, and it was going both ways with everyone. It's like, I can't be mad about the end because I did the same thing to other people, not on purpose, just on accident, just because you're trying to finish the pass and it just doesn't work when you get loose on the bottom. But it is what it is. I feel like we made a lot of progress as a team tonight, made some good changes, had a good run there in the middle. Bummed that run didn't last till the end, but it happens. We'll get it next time.
How difficult is it to go to a short track like this? Do you worry about reputation? Do you worry about what other people think, or how do you keep that out of your mind?
I think I'm just focused on my development, trying to get better and learn as much as I can, get as much seat time as I can, because I'm still fairly new to stock car racing. It's still not what I grew up doing, so every single race I'm learning something new.
Maybe it's not that points finish you're ultimately going to have, but there's still that bounty rookie points race. You made a big standing in that tonight.
I'm racing for wins now.
How frustrating that didn't come tonight then?
It is frustrating when you're there and then you're starting to fall back and there's not much you can do about it. You're racing your hardest. I think it's just learning from what you did good right there and taking it to the next race and seeing how you can make that last longer.
Well, that next race is Toledo, so you got to have confidence coming out of here going there.
Yeah, for sure. We have some experience at Toledo. I feel like we've made a lot of good improvements on the car in the meantime since we were last there. So we should have a good run there, especially based off our run tonight.
Any conversations with Brett Holmes tonight, or just going to let it go?
I haven't left my car yet. I haven't stood up.
We'll see what transcribes, but nice job coming home 5th tonight.
Thank you.
And she showed that tonight with an aggressive racing style, but she is hungry for a win, and that's really all that she's focused on. Brett Holmes, on the other hand, is focused on that championship. He would have liked to have won tonight, but he's able to gain some ground. Now, unofficially, from the ARCA Menards series, he's just 1 point behind Michael Self in this championship hunt.
And he knows what's on the line. He just told us he had the bigger picture in mind. He just got done with a Zoom call with national media. That's part of the process he's going through in this ever-changing world. He also spends a lot of time by himself in his dorm apartment. He's in college still. And that's where he's doing a lot of his thesis work for his his final semester at Auburn. He also spends a lot of time there without his crew, without his team, without his simulator. So that's a lot of time to think and adjust to what he's now going through, a really late in the year season decision to go for the championship.
Brett Holmes close again, 3rd runner-up finish of the season. Of course, he does have that big win at Kansas. And where do we wind up this year to end the season?
Kansas.
Kansas. He likes that racetrack. We'll be right back.
The ARCA Menards series is brought to you by Geico, saving people money on more than just car insurance. Zisner Smart Coat, plan, buy, and paint smart. And by Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive.
A wild one in Missouri for the ARCA Menards series saw Sam Mayer go to victory lane for the 3rd time this year and become the new point leader in the Sioux Chief Showdown. Let's check out how this thing shook down in the Lucas Oil race recap. Plenty of bumping and banging in this one, and a lot of it involved that 4-car of Hailie Deegan.
Yeah, it was 50 laps into it, racing for a top 5 position. Here's Hailie again, racing with Brett Holmes for the lead on lap 72. And that change of complexion and the tempers of both drivers.
Look at that. That was the pass for the lead. Sam Mayer to the front. And then at the end of this race, Ty Gibbs and Hailie Deegan went at it. A little contact. There was some wet stuff down there in the corner where Hailie Deegan actually hit a couple of people and Ty Gibbs hit a couple of people as well throughout this race. Sam Mayer with the big win. And we have plenty of racing to come with the ARCA Menards Series live on MAV TV. We're excited to go to Toledo. Remember, never miss a race. Go to mavtv.com/set reminder and receive a calendar reminder just minutes before each and every one of your favorite airings.
The next 2 Saturdays, you should be right where you are right now, watching MAV TV live ARCA Menards Series racing on your television this Saturday at Toledo Speedway. The next Saturday, just announced tonight, September 19th, Winchester Speedway. Oh, yeah, and by the way, we're throwing in Bristol on Fox Sports 1 on Thursday night, September 17th.
And progressively higher in banking with each of those races. We go to the high banks at Toledo, a little bit higher to Bristol and Thunder Valley, and then to the highest banks of any racetrack in America, Winchester Speedway, right outside of Indianapolis in Winchester, Indiana. This one, plenty of drama and plenty of things to look forward to, maybe even some payback in Toledo.
And you know, we're down to that point in the season where Brett Holmes still says, I want to drive to the championship the way I want to drive, but if you want to drive me rough, I'll drive you rough back. So there's some claws coming out, not just the teeth on the front of that 4-car. Other drivers have shown their aggression tonight. And Sam Mayer showed aggression on that final restart. That was the critical moment, I thought. From the inside, up the track enough to take the line and take the victory away from Hailie Deegan.
Here's what we know. Sam Mayer, he winds up winning. And a point battle between Michael Self and Brett Holmes. 1 point separate the two of them. So for Dave Reef, Jim Trado, and everybody at Lucas Oil Production Studios, I'm Bob Dillner saying thank you so much for watching. And a big congratulations to the Wisconsin kid, Sam Mayer.